talk about today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come here and conduct this interview with me. My name is Melissa. Busy, we're both busy. I'm busy, we're busy. Yeah. Well, my name is Melissa Rosada, and I'm here on behalf of PAN NYC. It seems like you have a bit of a case, serious case, and it's dealing with infidelity and harassment. And how do you feel about it before I get down to it?
Let me say this from the bottom of my heart. I am not worthy of the Supreme Court. As the Daily News and the NYP put it, it's the most bizarre case. News headlines read, I'm a dancing devil, I'm creepy. Harassment lawsuit containing a litany of he says and she says, half-truths, lies, and innuendos. Whose idea was this lawsuit and why now?
Well, let's get right into this. Plaintiff Carolina Gildred hereby asserts as her complaint against you as follows. This court has jurisdiction over this matter, and venue is proper in this county because the defendant, you, Michael Foster, resides and transacts business in this county, and the conduct and acts of you complained of herein occurred in all or in substantial part of this county. Now, plaintiff Carolina Gildred is a married woman residing in the state of California, and you are an unmarried man residing currently and at times material hereto in this county. Now, about this lawsuit seeks to hold you accountable at law and equity for your relentless campaign of harassment, defamation, and infliction of emotional distress against Carolina. This campaign included lying about Carolina's fidelity, setting up sham websites in the name of Carolina and her husband, falsely accusing the plaintiff's husband of criminal conduct, contacting your husband's business office personnel with this false information regarding her husband. Also, that you've been leaving voicemail messages stating that when the plaintiff kisses her husband is tasting your big black dick. You're threatening her and her husband and seeking to extort money from Carolina. What is this? How do you feel about these incriminations?
To the news and a response to the so-called inquiries to contact anyone from the NYP or the Daily News, whose bottom line, their interest only is money. At the expense of their ignorant database of readers, let alone the added insult. I think it's an utter insult to the intelligence of a few of their avid readers. The Daily News and NYP act as though they're the city's governing law enforcement agencies, and that the city law enforcement agencies depend on their honest reporters.
Well, getting back to this, law enforcement agencies in both the state of California and New York have taken reports on you in relation to the course of conduct set forth herein. Carolina herself and through her California attorney have demanded that you cease and desist from these activities and to stop contacting Carolina and her family. You, however, have refused to comply and instead have continued this course of conduct, including a recent communication alluding to the murder with respect of Carolina's husband. Apparently your communication recently also includes leaving voice messages threatening to teach you a lesson, that I'm coming at you and to read between the lines.
Anyone can make a false report to the police in any state. For example, this type of rhetoric I'm offering in response will earn Daily News and the NYP additional satirical coverage, and for sure they'll say much of this in my response is simply babbling. Free speech is news only if Daily News and NYP could make money off of the ignorance of its database of readers. I haven't read the lawsuit, nor do I intend to do so. Neither have I read the ignorant newspapers' articles. My response is in ad lib to what most of my friends have been saying to me. I have never harassed anyone in my life. Even if anything or anyone believes so, I promise them. They need to rethink that fast.
Well, in 2015, Carolina married and moved in with her 2 children from New York to the state of California. Prior to her move, California resided in the state of New York and an active tango dancer. You were also present at some of the tango events that Carolina attended. And in around May of 2016, while Carolina was back in New York on a visit, she was introduced to you as a tango instructor. And after she returned to California, you kept in contact with her. Later that year, you persuaded Carolina to travel to California to provide dance lessons to her and a group of friends. Now, Carolina communicated to you verbally, and in writing, including in an email dated to September 2016. And apparently you became unhinged. In September 19, 2016, you sent an email to Carolina and other third parties falsely stating, among other things, that you and Carolina had been making love to each other and, yes, having sex. And in the same email, you falsely described, your relationship with Carolina as prospective dance partner, sex, and other relationships. So talk to me more about this.
Well, these are allegations, right? And look, there's suggesting to a man his wife is unfaithful isn't harassment. Saying to a man who evidently disrespected a woman, suck my bleep, isn't harassment. And highlighting to a man, opinionated or fact-based, that he's a borderline pedophile isn't either. I am called by the Daily News and NYP a dance instructor, creepy moves. If anyone think I am creepy, then don't listen to this video message. And not you, then they won't listen to the NYP or they won't read the New York Press, the New York Post either.
Well, on September 22nd, 2016, you sent out an email to Carolina's husband falsely stating that, among so many different things, that plaintiff had been unfaithful and what is your and her marriage. And on September 23rd, 2016, Carolina's attorney sent via email and U.S. mail a letter to you advising you not to contact Mr. and Mrs. Gildred through any channels, including by phone, text, social media, or other alliances. And you ignored the letter and you continued to contact Carolina and her husband as a part of your ongoing campaign, of this harassment. And again, on September 2016, Carolina herself texted you, noting that you've been calling her over and over. And her text, she asked that you stop calling her. And you refused and continued to call and contact Carolina. So tell me more about the communication between you and Carolina. Was it mutual? It seems she didn't really want to be bothered after a while.
Listen, I looked up the word money, courtesy Rosetta Stone, for its multiple translations in many different languages. One meaning stood out to me the most. In the Desi language, the English word money is in translation read as the word sperm. Considering this lawsuit is about money,
well, in regards to money,
$250,000 to be exact.
Let me also, this also comes to my attention also during 2016, it says that you and her were, I guess, in cahoots about a tango studio in California that, you know, you would be her partner in the studio, that Carolina's husband can put up the money. And you continue to raise the subject without Carolina. And Carolina made it clear to you that she did not want to pursue a studio. So, can you talk about that also, regarding the dance studio and the expenses?
It's soothsayers. It's alleged. Should simply direct me to the bank of sperm so I could deposit enough desi money so that it'll cover this lawsuit. I mean, it is heartless. Whose man is interested to pen himself into an otherwise scatherless Gildred family past? I mean, I don't want this man's cash. I am a very, very hard worker, and I am very happy with spending my own hard-earned cash, however little it might be. There are two other reasons for this lawsuit, and none, I do not think, have anything to do with Miss Carolina Gildred. Every idiot guy who thinks he's got a lot of cash would do a prenuptial agreement prior to a marriage. Tom Gildred in chief.
Okay, well, on October 24, 2016, Defendant Foster sent an email to the marketing, basically, let me break this down. Basically, you sent an email to the marketing department of Carolina's husband's business. Among other things, you know, the email falsely stated that Carolina's husband, like you said, was a borderline pedophile, you know, that she and you had, you know, been lovers, that Carolina's husband had been doping his wife at 3 a.m., that Carolina had been choked by her husband, and that Carolina had been subjected to psychological abuse, and, you know, that Carolina was in an abusive marriage, and Carolina was a trophy wife, and among other things, that Carolina would be the subject of a murder-suicide attempt. So, you know, getting back to what you were stating earlier, not only the fact that, you know, she's a trophy wife, and, you know, as you mentioned earlier, that, you know, she's been subject to psychological abuse, it just seems like her marriage was, so many secrets going on in her marriage. Can you talk more about this?
Well, let me say this before you go on. I'm going to say this off, you know, it just came to my mind. So I'm going to say this, really. I've known Carolina for 15 plus years. I understand and I respect the values of marriage, but I tell you this, and you're a woman, Melissa, in a marriage, when would a man marry a woman? He takes her to his house he has a 5-bedroom house, and deposits her 2 teenage children into the guest rooms while he has his office in the larger room that has a full bath, and he has his traveling luggages and shoes and all that stuff in a smaller room that has a half bath. I mean, wouldn't you think that something like that would bring stress upon his wife?
Well, on October 31st, you know, Carolina, it seems like you sent Carolina's husband an email attaching a quoted notice. And the email accompanying notice stated that unless you receive $10,000 within 3 days, you, among other things, would create a live blog through websites created by yourself. The websites would use the names Carolina and her husband, as well as her husband's business. You know, example, carolinagildred.com, and it stated that unless you met his demand for $10,000, you know, basically would malign the reputation of Carolina and her husband's business and their family. So is this true?
This lawsuit is not about $10,000. This lawsuit is about $250,000. And let me say this, Carolina's quote, by the way, to me, Michael, I can't leave Tom, unquote. Quote, I'll quote another one. Tom hurt me. Another of Carolina's quote, Tom took me from New York when I was at the top of my game, unquote. Another one, quote 4, Tom's pathetic. Tom swore to me 7 times, Carolina, I know you did not do anything with him, meaning me. Another quote, Michael, Tom can't figure you out. And most notably, of all, and many more, there are quotes, Tom awoke me up at 2:30 a.m. and said, here, take that. Why? What happened? She asked him, you're gurgling. So things like these, don't you think would stress her out as a wife? She's entrusting that to me. I am just a friend to the extent of the relationship that we've had in the dance partnership and so on. I'm not here to declare her unfaithfulness. Who am I to do that?
Well, Carolina has been refused to basically give in to your distorted demand, and Foster launched basically launched websites under the name of, under other things, CarolinaGildred.com and TomGildred.info. These websites include statements describing Carolina as follows. With these quotes, a seducer of the rich, a despiser of the poor. It doesn't matter who you are, show her favor. Family or friend will risk becoming her enemy. That she's a real-life emotional abuser with promiscuous intent. She loves hard, strong sex if given the opportunity. And that both of Carolina's children will suffer due to her. Is this true?
These are allegations in just a carefully fashioned lawsuit. And I'd say, there's another quote from Carolina. Michael, you opened my eyes. You're so strong. Thank you. Believe it or not, I miss you too. I would like to suggest something to you. And I forwarded this to your department, and it is our statement. And I'd like you to hear what Carolina had to say. This was just about a day ago. Carolina was with me on the phone, and you can listen for yourself.
Okay, well, let's listen.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Well, good afternoon for you. It's morning for me. Yeah. So I'm kind of like good morning. I guess you're on my mind a lot. Okay. Well, you're on my mind too, believe it or not. Okay.
So, as the Lord liveth, Carolina knows I would not lie. But today, I have a lawsuit. And also a quote, one time we had a conversation, Carolina says, Tom wants to apologize. He could apologize over the phone, but it would be best if he can do so. That was in October, when he was supposed to be in October in New York City last year. Why would he want to apologize to me? Well, let's do the math. If the equation is that Mr. and Mrs. Carolina Gildred is happily married, they have Michael Foster's 102% support. There's no need for an harassment lawsuit or further false police reports in any state. One thing for sure, the frivolous lawsuit deserved to be immediately withdrawn. I have already accepted its inevitability. Carolina and in chief, Mr. Tom Gildred, is very much aware that I have no cash.
Well, it seems as if your conduct did not abate. It
Well,
seems
the
that
irony is that of the Tom Gildred is all along, he is made fully aware of each proposed alleged harassment article and each of its likelihood. What would you expect a man to do, especially if an earnest man felt like he'd become that one to have rescued a damsel in distress?
Well,
I mean,
apparently
Carolina
it
is
seems,
my friend.
well, apparently it seems that you continue to contact and attempt to contact and
So I
contact
was
Carolina
wrong.
and her
I
husband,
was misled.
her children, and her third parties. For example, on November 6th, you again contacted Carolina, and in that communication, you stated that Carolina's husband prefers you dead and desires to euthanize your partners. You also stated that you fell in love with me and you'll never fall out of love with me. On February 2nd, 2017, you left a voicemail on the general message line of the company for which Carolina's husband serves as the chief executive officer. And in your voicemail, you stated that when plaintiff's husband kissed her, that you would be sucking your big black dick. Now, in another example, in February of 2017, you, impersonating Carolina's husband, attempted to hijack control of her husband's Facebook account. On March 14, 2017, you again contacted Carolina, stating, among other things, that you are planning a visit to Del Mar, where basically Carolina resides with her husband and children. You further state that you had spent the past months without eating, sleeping, or even turning off your lights. You conclude your message by stating this is when you and your family choose reverberations and echo modest love and affections and do it through whatever future timeline it will most needly demand. And you will have some explaining to do to your children. So now the children are involved. Are these things true? Are these implications true?
Tom Gildred doesn't want me to prove my innocence. He already knows this. Even his mother says to him, his lawyers too, and I am sure his business partner, Jay Park. So what is the squabble all about? Two things. I'm unfortunately made to be the black male to which whom he, the Tom Gildred, have not expected to be pouring his needful medicine. In this and another lifetime, he, Mr. Tom Gildred, will wish he could lift a woman's spirits in the ways over these months the one Michael Foster have so unseemingly done. And two, for the sakes of a prenuptial agreement, it's love and marriage gone botch. Long before a dance partnership business proposal came along, it's too much an acceptance pill to swallow. As I've said to Carolina many months ago, Carolina, take up the pieces and come back to New York. Carolina's last words to me, unfortunately, are on much of my unintentional recorded notes. Those words, the reason for my persistence, I had no idea everything was perfectly all right with her.
Well, on March 17th, it says you emailed one of the top executives and owners of the company for which Carolina's husband served as chief executive officer. In that communication, you again accused Carolina of infidelity. And basically, you falsely stated that Carolina's husband would inherently need to lie about the faith of his wife and that there's an alleged extramarital affair between you and Carolina.
Well, I'd like to just share with you one clip of many of the conversation that I actually unintentionally had recorded. And it's, you listen for yourself.
To retract something, right, that you know the content of that something is not my making, right, that in itself is, that's not just lying for yourself, that's actually you need to lie against my own principles. That's right. That's correct. That's correct. So please, you know, you my
And there's another example. Please play.
iPhone and be the nicest lady or whatever.
Yes.
Everybody has their rationalization as to who Mr. Thompson trophy is. So that is what I'm talking about. It's not going to work. So okay. It is synonymous. I'm finishing. It is synonymous with character. Hold on. We're going to talk about something else now because hopefully we're still on this thing. No. Hold on. If I am a trophy wife, it's not if you're a trophy. It's not if you're a trophy or you're a trophy wife, Abby. Now, these are not my words. All right? You just said. No, what I said is that when you said, Carolina, you're the one that stopped with me. You said, look, when you spoke to Tom, right, this is what you said to him. I am your trophy. I am not your wife. And I did not say I am your trophy. What did you say, Carolina? I never used the word trophy because hold on a second here. Because prior to what she just said to me now, I had no type of even an insinuation that you would lie to your then partner. Right? And this is very, very trivial. This has nothing to do with anything. And if you're telling Michael Foster right now that at no time in your conversation, right, you never said the word trophy wife, right? And in the many ways in which you compare, right? I mean, I want you to repeat that for me because there's obviously something that's going on that I don't know. And if you want to trigger a mountain out of a mole because this is about character, John, right? There, as you mentioned character, by the way, there's something in my text that alluded to character, right? Because when you send me a text suggesting to me to retract something, right, that you know the content of that something is not my making, right? That in itself that's not just lying for yourself. That's asking me to lie against my own principles. That's right. That's correct. Okay. So please, Carolina, you're my best thing that ever happened to me. My dance ever.
Well, basically, in this communication, you again falsely stated that Carolina, just trying to find, that was a really emotional taping. I'm just trying to gather myself together. But basically, in your communication, you again falsely stated that Carolina's husband had engaged in criminal conduct and referred to life-threatening circumstances such as suicide and murder. Thereafter, you sent a letter to the plaintiff and her husband to have been dated on March 16, 2017. And in the letter, you admit that your prior statements asserting that plaintiff had been unfaithful to her husband and had a sexual relationship with you were false. And in the first weeks of April 2017, you left a series of voice messages directed to Carolina's husband. And in these messages, you state that basically you're going to teach Carolina's husband a lesson, that her husband is a scumbag and that she's coming at you, and that basically you have a recording of Carolina groaning out of good sex. So, all of that to say, Michael, what do you have to say about this? What's going on?
I thank you for this interview. As you know, it is quite emotional, and these are just allegations. And to the Gildred, or I would say, in regards to his cease and desist, yes, this is my cease and desist acknowledgement. Yes. Honestly, the lawsuit is way above my bill payment, or lack thereof. One more thing. Dance is my life. My student to instructor relationship is very professional. Dance partnership, however, is closer than any marriage relationship. Have a good night. I would like to host.
Well, thank you, Michael, so much for your time. This is very stressful and a very emotional time for you.